Jai. Hare Krishna and welcome to the Bhagavad-gita lecture. Still chapter 5, and then today is verse number 14. So let's chant the auspicious mantras. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Jai, see Ashwini is also here. Wonderful. Okay, so I will read. Yeah, thank you. So I will read now this from my mobile phone. I have it. You can actually download Bhagavad-gita to your mobile phone. I bought it through, I think it was through some app which I have here in the phone. Okay, so the Sanskrit goes like this. Let me just see if we are on the right one. Yeah, that's the right one. So Krishna is then saying, Na kartritvam na karmani lokasya shriyati prabhuhu na karma pala samyogang swabhavastu pravartate. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. Purport. The living entity, as will be explained in the 7th chapter, is one of the energies or natures of the Supreme Lord, but is distinct from matter, which is another nature called inferior or of the Lord. Somehow, the superior nature, the living entity, has been in contact with material nature since time immemorial. The temporary body or material dwelling place which he obtains is the cause of varieties of activities and their resultant reactions. Living in such a conditional atmosphere, one suffers the result of the activities of the body by identifying himself in ignorance with the body. It is ignorance acquired from time immemorial that is the cause of bodily suffering and distress. As soon as the living entity becomes aloof from the activities of the body, he becomes free from the reactions as well. As long as he is in the city of the body, he appears to be the master of it. But actually, he is neither its proprietor nor controller of its actions and reactions. He is simply in the midst of the material ocean, struggling for existence. The waves of the ocean are tossing him, and he has no control over them. His best solution is to get out of the water by transcendental Krishna consciousness. That alone will save him from all turmoil. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militanyena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, I think someone more came here. Okay, yeah. So we can start with Jose. It was nice that you were here today. We haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah, I was Bangalore just now. I reached.
Yeah, it's very late for you in India now.
Yeah, no, I was driving from Bangalore to Kerala. It's around 12 hours.
All right, I understand. Okay.
Missed a lot of the programs.
Yeah.
2, 3. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, so
yeah.
I'll read now the purport, the verse again. So the embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. So we can start with, interestingly here, Krishna is saying embodied spirit, because I think it's the most accurate way to describe our situation in the material world, that we are eternal living, we are an eternal soul, and but at the same time we are embodied. So we have, you know, achieved the material body, and that body comes because we want it. The material body, the soul is very, very powerful. According to Bhagavad-gita, the size of the soul is, if you take the tip of the hair and then you divide the tip of the hair in 10,000 pieces, that is the size of the soul. But the soul, since he's a part and parcel of Krishna, so he has Krishna's qualities of Satchidananda. He is eternal, he is full of bliss, he's full of knowledge. So that is the soul.
Sorry,
Mhm.
can you repeat again? It's the tip of the hill and then it divided into?
Yeah, you have the tip of the hair, okay? You have a small piece here, just the tip of it.
Okay.
It's very, very tiny. But if you divide that one in 10,000 pieces, then that is the size of the soul. So we have to understand that soul is very powerful because it belongs to the spiritual energy of Krishna. And we are in part and parcel of him. We have been discussing this oneness, you know, and then, like I described before, that we are one with God, but we are also not one with him. So we are one with him in the sense of quality, Satchidananda. Sat is eternal, so the soul never dies, and it means it never takes birth. And then we have, is it okay if I turn off your camera, Jose?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. So when you talk, you can turn on the camera, no problem. Okay, so Sat aspect is eternal, and then we have the Chid aspect, which is the knowledge, and Ananda is blissful. We are always trying to find some happiness. So we are creatures which are always trying to find happiness. It's like, it's not that there is something wrong with us. That is our nature. But it just becomes a little strange when we are in the material world. Our way to try to find happiness in matter will always be a big frustration for us. And this is what we need to learn. This is what we need to understand. And also that's why we are here trying to find the real Ananda, the real bliss or ecstasy. Because everybody here in this assembly has some understanding that I can't get happiness from the material world through the senses. So there must be another type of happiness. And then we are searching for the knowledge, and so that is also a part of the soul. That's a part of us. We want to have knowledge. We don't like to be in darkness. We don't like to know, to not know what is going to happen tomorrow or, you know, in the future. We don't like to not know what is happening in the world, because that is a part of our nature. We are always going to be searching for knowledge. And then the third thing is eternity. We don't like to die. We don't like our family members to die. We don't like when things are ended, and well, at least the good things. So, or relationships, I can say. We don't like relationships to end. And so that is also, we are always trying to search for eternity, something which is long lasting, because that's our nature. We belong to that. But then we are put in this condition in the material world where everything is going against us. Everything goes against our nature. And that which goes against our nature is the ignorance. It starts with the ignorance that the soul comes in contact with the mode of passion in the material world. And then his love for Krishna is turned into lust. And then he becomes covered. So that ignorance is called the false ego. So the false ego is created, or it's covering the soul. And why do we need to forget that we are a soul? Otherwise, we can't enjoy in the material world. So when we are covered by ignorance or lust, which is the same thing, then we will start the suffering. Then we enter into the mentality of dualities. Because we identify with the body, then we think, this is my friend, this is my enemy. He is good, he is bad. She's good, she is bad. This thing is good, that thing is bad. So all the time in that world of dualities. And this is because we have been separated from Krishna, we have been separated from our true nature. So everything in the material world is separated. So that's why we are in the mentality of duality. We have left the mentality of that absolute. So absolute means harmony. The good and the bad is in harmony. Good and evil is in harmony. Friend and enemy are in harmony. So that is on the absolute platform. So that is the nature of the soul. So when Krishna says here the embodied spirit, so that's what it means. It means a conditioned soul who has a material body. And we just need to desire to enjoy material world separate from Krishna. That desire in itself will generate a material body. And then what kind of enjoyment we want in the material world, then that set of senses we will get in the material world. So let's say I would like to, well, there are people who like to climb mountains, for instance. Okay, so as a human being, human life is not meant for climbing mountains. So then you can take birth as a goat who is climbing the mountains. Or there are people who likes to fly. Okay, so human beings, they are not meant to, how can I say, waste their time, trying to just enjoy flying. So then you can be a bird in your next lifetime. Or someone enjoys to have many casual sexual relationships. So then there are plenty of different species for that. Human life is meant for regulation. So do you understand how Krishna is thinking that, so whatever you like to enjoy in the material world, that will develop, then the soul will develop that type of set of senses so that he can try to fulfill those desires. But the human life is meant for self-realization, spiritual self-realization. That's what it is. It's not meant for economic development. It's not meant for, what do you say? Dharma, art, sense gratification. But since the human like to enjoy those things, then Krishna is providing that within certain frames, which will not be harmful for spiritual development. So that is called Varnashrama Dharma, which means that one follows the rules for the 4 different types of natures and 4 different types of ashramas. Ashrama means a place where you cultivate spiritual life. So you can do that as a student, householder, retired, and renunciate. So it depends on which stage you are. So this is, this is the civilized life when one is following these the rules and regulations according to one's nature and according to one's ashrama. And this is just made It's not, I met some person there some week ago when I went to Italy, and she said, I don't like religion because there are so many rules. And it's a ridiculous, I think it's quite ridiculous to say like that, but many people use that as an excuse, because if you're going to drive a car, I think there are many more rules for driving a car than to be a religious person. And why are there so many rules? Because it's extremely dangerous. You can actually die, or you can kill someone. So in the same way, religion has many rules because you want to obtain something. You want to obtain a result. So it has to be very accurate and precise. Otherwise, we will not obtain the desired result. And as we spoke in chapter 4, when we get the result, that result is meant to be offered to Krishna in a sacrifice. And then the result of sacrifice is knowledge, realized knowledge. And like that, we can advance spiritually. So that was just the embodied spirit. And then master of the city of his body. So the city of the body is just an allegory. There is a part in the Srimad Bhagavatam regarding this. The city of 9 gates, that is just the body. So which are the 9 gates? Is 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, 2 ears. And then the subterranean gates, one could say, are the anus and the genitals. So Prabhupada is explaining in the Srimad Bhagavatam that we have these holes in the body because otherwise we can't enjoy the body or through the body. So that's why we have these holes. So we can see, we can smell, taste, hear, and of course we can sense, and then there is sex life, which is the category of the genitals, and then of course giving birth. So through those senses we try to enjoy in the material world, but that type of and so-called happiness is temporary, and it will never satisfy the heart. Certain amount of enjoyment has to be there, otherwise we die. So that's why we have a house. So many things surrounded the body, but we should always remember it's the secondary, which is supporting the primary, and the primary is actually spiritual life. Anybody has any questions or comments?
Regarding, you really mentioned the soul and the material desires. That balancing, you mentioned, you met someone, they said the religion is not practicing thing. The concept is giving as a little spiritual English. Is it giving any different energy level to face the day-to-day life by that soul things? If you can explain. My experience is I'm undergoing that dual thoughts, whether I am materialistically inclined, all our 7 sensations in the right directions, and that whole concept, which it is untouchable, reach that level is an impossibility. How to relate these two as Krishna's consciousness or spirituality or eternal, or can you?
Yeah, we have been talking about this in the previous lectures. We just need to understand that everything belongs to Krishna. Yeah, he's saying in chapter 7 that the material elements belong to him, and the
in practical life to survive. In the practical life, if
yeah, this is practical. This is practical. If you remember that everything belongs to God. So let's say I go to the grocery shop and I buy some fruits. So I remember this belongs to Krishna, so he should eat first. So then I make a nice offering and I offer it to him. So is that not practical? If I go to my home, I go home, I open the door, and I see, oh, it's not very clean and it's not tidy. And then I remember this home belongs to Krishna. And he doesn't like the house to be unclean and untidy. So then I clean it and I make it tidy for his pleasure. It belongs to him. I take care of his.
You are correlating that soul concept with Krishna. But what about the other material needs and survival of this? How to balance it? That is the most difficult
So then
part.
you have the body, okay? So the body belongs to Krishna. So then
we have to think that concept. Body also belongs to Krishna. We have to submit our soul to him. Then we will get that.
Body. Yeah, both belongs. So but we're talking now about the body, so then we take nicely care of it. So generally devotees, they worship the deities, or they do some puja, some worship every day. So it means that we have to clean the body in the morning, taking a shower, and the teeth and the ears and the nose, the eyes. So we clean the whole body, and then after that we can start our worship or meditation. So we do it so that our consciousness is nice, but also for Krishna's pleasure. He will also be pleased when we are clean. So everything is connected. We may not think about it directly, but that's the reason, this Pancharatrika Vidhi. I was talking about that a few lectures ago, Pancharatrika Vidhi. So it's the path of how can you say? Yeah, if you are not already super advanced, so then you go this path. So this path is very much connected with deity worship, with the worship of Krishna. So when you worship Lord Krishna, then, he's in your home. So it's no longer your home, you're the servant. He's like the king, you are the servant of the king. So everything is surrounded around him, and you want to please your master. So like that, if you that's why it's called Krishna consciousness, because you are conscious of Krishna. So when you are conscious of him, then you are no longer in this ignorance, which I was talking about, because the ignorance is that which is creating the karma. It's the ignorance which is creating the bonds. But if we act like that everything belongs to Krishna, and we open the door and allow him into our life, so then there is no more karma. Then we are already liberated, even if we are in the material body. Even if we are in the material world, we are already liberated, because it's no longer matter. Everything is spiritual.
Since all our thoughts has to converge to Krishna consciousness, then only it is a very difficult thing because we all human beings, we have that all ignorance covered the soul with.
Yes, that's why it's called Vidhi Marg. So every day we have to practice. And then it feels artificial in the beginning, but never mind. It's what is more artificial. More artificial is to forget God, to not remember him. That is much more artificial. because it has nothing to do with reality. He's there. It's like, imagine you're married and you have children, you just walk in the door, you don't say hello to anyone, you just mind your own business, you never talk with them, you never have anything to do with your family. Isn't that artificial? So God is right there in our heart. And if we never talk to him, we never pray to him, we never have a dialogue with him, so then that is, and then we just walk around in his home. This is his world. Everything belongs to him, and we never share anything with him. So, okay, Krishna says, if you want to have that life, then I give you full responsibility for your actions, and then you have to take all that karma also. Yeah. So that's why we are prisoners in the material world, because we are prisoners of our own, strange mentality. Yeah. Or our artificial mentality. Of course, everyone else in the material world seems to have that mentality, then we think it's normal. But, like you live in India, it's like day and night from the West. I mean, we live in the most, Sweden is the most atheistic country in the world. And also, when I'm in Finland, then it's not that people talk about God. They don't really talk about him.
Europe, that concept of religion or God is there because of their survival. Why they turn into that type of thoughts or thing? Only because of their survival in this world. Because if they meditate and what you mentioned about Krishna consciousness, all action, survival become very complex. Am I correct?
Yes, that's a very nice point, because material world, the more we try to
balance, to balance that
conquer, the more we try to conquer the material world, the more complicated it becomes. I give you an example. I'll give you an example. It's like, nowadays we have cars. Just a few hundred years ago, we had horses. And they have measured actually how long time it took to enter London, like 200 years ago when there were horses. It takes exactly the same time to enter London now when they have cars. So what have they achieved? Just because the excrement of the horses were so stinky, so then they invented a car. But now we have an even bigger problem, which is this global warming and all of those things.
Same thing. When today I was traveling from Bangalore to Cochin. Then I discussed the same topic. My friend, he mentioned, if I have a Lexus or Benz or BMW car, I will be more happy. Then I was telling the same point. Then he said, because you couldn't get that one, that's why you are envy. You are not spiritual. Then I said, I don't think it is any happiness, or that was, I was arguing. Then he said, no, you are an idiot. You live in a pseudo world. It is whatever we gather the material thing, and it is comfort, we can call it as that desire of happiness. Then you whole world will recognize you. Then I was arguing when I was driving around 2 hours, the same context. So what you feel is the most interesting part in reality, that Krishna's consciousness to converge everything, our energy level become only spiritual. You entered into a spiritual. The Dalai Lama used to tell, you may be meditating and you may be praying and all, but if you are mind and if your thoughts bring some positive things that create your what you call the spirituality, or this thing will become very pleasant, calm and serene. And there will be a lot of fight, as you mentioned, the material things and the soul concept which you mentioned about the covered with an ignorance. To over the beginning, that balancing, whether can I work with a balanced with the two entities. One is material, and this is purely Krishna consciousness. Don't mind about our body or our actions, and only submit to Krishna consciousness. That the practicality and reality, is it permissible or possible? That is my.
Yeah, I think I already answered that question, but you just have to now, you can listen to my answer again. You can go back to this, my answer. And it's, you know, sometimes people have the same question for many, many years. And it's a concern for them. But ultimately, I think we have to understand what it really means. You know, this practicality. Like I said, it starts in the consciousness. You're conscious about Krishna. And you understand this house, which I call mine, is actually not mine, it's his. Yes. Body, which I call mine, it's actually not mine. It's his material energy. It's not mine. So what am I? I'm just, you know, the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. So then I should just use this material energy without becoming entangled. The problem is when I become entangled through the false ego. So as long as I just keep myself as a servant, I'm not entangled and I'm not responsible. But as soon as I think myself as the master, then I get entangled and I get that karma and the reactions, because false ego means I think I'm God. That is false ego. So you can see in the material world, let's say amongst politicians, everybody wants to become the president. Why? That is the false ego, because they want to be God. They want to be on the top. But they don't understand what it means to be the enjoyer and the controller. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and controller. What does that mean? It means that you have to serve everybody under you and make sure and try to, you know, make sure that everybody has something to eat, everybody gets education, everyone has, you know, there is an economical development in the country and all of those things. That's what it means to be the enjoyer and the controller. But nowadays people, they just want to take the enjoyer and controller part, but they don't want to do the hard work. They don't. So then what they do, they create different committees where nobody you can't point out anybody for being responsible, but everyone are enjoying the titles and the positions and, you know, the facilities. So this is the material world. This is what we are dealing with, and it's practical, but Bhagavad-gita is practical, but you have to, you know, when we read Bhagavad-gita, we just don't read it. We also have to contemplate. This is the part of digestion. You know, reading is like eating, but then contemplation is the digestion part. So that's, you really have to see, oh, this is what it means to be sold. Oh, this is what it means to have material, to enjoy spiritual bliss. You know, this is what it is. Because in our mind, there is one picture, but the reality is maybe different. Yeah, so that's why you are thinking, how is it practical? I already told you, start by that, you know. The house belongs to Krishna, the car belongs to Krishna, the body belongs to Krishna, and then we use it in his service. Start with that, because without practicing, there is no realization. Yeah, and it has to go together with chanting Hare Krishna mantra, because Hare Krishna mantra will remove the false ego. Yeah, it will remove the ignorance which is covering us. It will purify the soul. Okay?
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank you. So, anyone else has any question? Or
I have
simply here. Yeah?
I was wondering, I mean, sometimes I feel like it helps me to see the body as like sort of in a metaphor as like a vehicle or a vessel, so that I see it also as part of the material world, and I feel like it helps me a bit to disidentify from it, other than, okay, yeah, it's like my body, and then it feels so close. But I was just wondering if it makes sense, or if there's like any other like comparison or like image or sort of like mental image on how to see the body that it helps us identify. Because at least for me, it really helps to have some sort of mental image to start with, to get into like a different mode.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice how do you say, exercise to take a little bit distance from it like that. And Krishna is saying in Bhagavad-gita also that he's calling the body yantra. So yantra means actually a vehicle. So spot on. It's very good. Just continue like that, because the distance is, taking that distance is important, because if we don't take that distance, we always think I am the body. No, it's like, I don't know if you drive car, but I've never driven a car. Maybe I tried, but that was a dangerous thing for me to do. Or driving a bicycle. In one sense, you become one with it, and it's a little bit difficult to how do you say, to not identify with it while you are driving. But it's easy when you drive a car, you understand it's not me. So in that sense, but if someone would say, oh, what an ugly car you have, or something like that, we may actually take offense. So that's how easy we start identifying with matter, and then imagine how tightly identified we are with the body and the mind and the intelligence and the false ego. So I think it's a good exercise that you do. Hare Krishna mantra will also help to get this realization if we meditate on the Maha Mantra. So yeah. Anybody else has any? You have some question?
Yes, I have a question. So the thing is, one side to survive, and another side is, with the surroundings, the greediness is growing day by day. While I'm questioning about my survival, and one side is the surrounding that creates a greediness inside me.
The greediness?
Yes.
What is that?
How to get rid from the
greediness?
Greediness.
Okay. So he's asking about survival. One side we need to survive, but it can go easily flip over to become greed. Yeah. Yes. So how to
get rid from the greediness.
Get rid of the greediness. Yeah. Yes. Like I explained, if you understand that everything belongs to God.
Okay.
And also he has given us a quota. So greed means we want more than we deserve.
Yes.
Yeah. So if we try to get something, but it doesn't come to us, so then that's not our quota. Then we have to just renounce it and practice satisfaction. Practice satisfaction and thankfulness. Thank you for what I have, instead of looking at what I don't have. So
I think it takes time, or it requires practicing.
Yes, it requires a lot of practice, but you just have to flip the coin, from greed to thankfulness. Yeah, and then you will say, wow, I can do so much with the little thing I have. And also another thing is, yes, I would like to have so many things, but do I want to work so hard and maintain it? And then maybe I don't have, you know, so much free time, which I have now. So those things, it also comes with quality of life. And do I have time for spiritual life? So there is one little book which is called Nectar of Instruction, and that in that book it says there are 6 different things which will harm the spiritual life, and one of them is over endeavor. When we over endeavor to obtain some material things, yeah, because let's say then we don't have time for our spiritual practice, we don't have time for family, we are just like, oh, I want this. So then we have to use our intelligence and understand that now it's time to cut the bonds and just be satisfied with what I have right now. And then you'll be happy, because as long as we are longing for something, then we always be a little bit grumpy and not so happy. But when we appreciate and thank God, thank you, it's a miracle. Every day I have something to eat. I mean, you know, Krishna, our God, he has to, how many living entities he has to feed every day in all the universes, and he managed to do it. So it's a miracle that we have something to eat, we are not freezing, or we're not too hot. You know, all these things which we take for granted are actually a blessing from God, so that we can have a nice, you know, nice spiritual life, foundation for the spiritual life. Yeah, spiritual life is number one. All the other things, they are just facilities to make spiritual life possible. But spiritual life should always be number one. Yeah, so then there will be no greed in that case. If you see the priority, that, you know, your relationship with God is the most important, and everything else, your whole lifestyle is you create a lifestyle which is supporting the development of your relationship with God. So it means you have to a little bit maybe rethink everything and try to adjust a few things like that. Yeah. Was that okay?
Yes.
All right.
Makes sense.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else has some question?
Yeah, I have. Actually, you were talking about like we differentiate between the people, you know, the enemies and the good. He's good, or he's bad, he's enemy, he keeps hurting. And also you told like we have been separated by Krishna. So it's not that much clear to me. Can you explain a little bit more?
About friends and enemies is when we identify with the body, then we create friends and enemies. But if we identify as the soul, then we don't have any friends and enemies, because everybody is a part and parcel of Krishna. And, you know, if you love Krishna, you love everyone. So then it erases this enmity. Sometimes we just have to be in that role, but it doesn't mean that we identify with it. We just have to play that role. Let's say if you would be, I don't know, a king who has an enemy, but you're a saintly person at the same time. So then you're just like, you know, Arjuna and Yudhishthira and the Pandavas. They had to take that role that these are my enemies. But you know, after the war of Kurukshetra, then you can see that Yudhishthira, he is taking nicely care of Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra was the father of his enemies. But he's hosting Dhritarashtra and his wife, and he's taking care of them, giving them food. And although they were Dhritarashtra, when he was a king, he was never telling, you know, his sons to don't try. He was not stopping them from trying to kill them. So this is when you are on that spiritual platform, then you may enter the role of an enemy because it is your, job. But deep inside, you are actually not, you don't have those inimical feelings. Another good thing is also, if you understand that people are in the mode of ignorance, then you just understand, okay, this person is in the mode of ignorance. So he's just acting according to that conditioning, that you could say the programming of the software of that person. Yeah. So then if you just see it as that they are identifying so deeply, they are so much in deep darkness and in ignorance and identify so deeply, that's why they are treating me in this way. So then, we can feel some compassion for them, and we can try to elevate their consciousness. But if we can't elevate the consciousness, we can always pray for them. But it's very dangerous if we fall into this trap of becoming enemies. So it's very dangerous, because then we will fall down to their level of ignorance, and it will be a downfall in our consciousness. So then, but if we have that risk and we are not so strong spiritually, then I would say it's better to keep those people at a distance and just try to have some other association. So
thank you very much. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Okay, anybody else has any questions? Okay, so let's see here. So we spoke about embodied spirits. We spoke about the city of 9 gates, which is the body. We spoke about we don't create any karma, how avoid to create karma. And then we also don't induce other people to create any karma or fruits of action. And then the self-realized soul understand that, all these actions which is done in the material world is actually carried out by the material nature. It's not we doing it. So the soul is just sitting there in the heart and desires to do something, but he can't really do anything. He's totally helpless. So then actually Maya is doing it. So I want to lift my hand and it goes up. I want it to take it down, it goes down. So it goes very quickly like this. Oh, this is me doing. No, it's just that that material nature is actually doing it. I can't do it, because the soul is 1/10,000, small little particle of the tip of the hair. So what can the soul do more than desiring? But it's like, a kid who wants something, then the father is bringing it or the mother is bringing it. So in that way, because at the same time, if we one day would wake up and we had, some stroke or something, and then we can't even lift the arm anymore. So that means that we are actually not the controllers of the material nature. We are actually prisoners in this body, and we are just, ripening the fruits of our activities. So in that way, one can prove that, we are not the ones who are controlling material nature, although we think we are controlling it, or we try to control it, but we are actually controlled by it. So that is another thing which we can try to contemplate during the week, like the material nature is carrying out everything, and everything goes so smoothly, but at one point it may not work. And then that's when Krishna wants to show us that it's not you acting, no one is acting, everyone is just desiring, and material nature is doing it, is carrying out. The demigods are, 33 million demigods are, behind the scenes of this illusion, in which the the soul is entangled. Yeah. Okay, we didn't go through the purport here. I just read it through, but I think in one sense we went through the whole thing. I just see if there's anything important. Yeah, Prabhupada is saying, as soon as the living entity becomes aloof from the activities of the body, he becomes free from the reactions as well. As long as he is in the city of the body, he appears to be the master of the body, but actually he is neither the proprietor nor the controller of its actions and reactions. He is simply in the midst of the material ocean, struggling for existence. The waves of the ocean are tossing him, and he has no control over them. His best solution is to get out of the water by transcendental Krishna consciousness. That alone will save him from all turmoil. That's a nice way to end this lecture, unless anyone else has anything to say. Okay, I guess not. So thank you very much for attending. And then
thank you very much for this day. Thank you very much for this day.
Thank you. Yeah, take these thoughts with you, and try to take that distance during the week from the body, from the mind, from the intelligence and false ego, and try to contemplate a little bit. It can actually create some real happiness in the heart when we become more self-realized like that. All right, all the best. Srimad Bhagavad-gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhaktavrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.